And to the Fox News voter fraud unit now, in charges of election fraud in the 2008 presidential race. Allegations that some of the presidential petitions that put Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton on the ballot in Indiana were faked. 4 Democratic officials and political operatives were charged this past week with forging names and signatures of unsuspecting voters. In fact, reports have said so many names were forged that the president may not have legally qualified for the Indiana primary ballot. The former longtime chairman of the St. Joseph County Democratic Party, Butch Morgan, is accused of ordering the alleged scheme carried out inside the county Democratic headquarters. The Democratic Voter Registration Board supervisor, Pam Burnett, and Democratic elections worker Beverly Shelton were also charged, as was Democratic volunteer and former board worker Dustin Blythe. Blythe allegedly forged signatures on Obama's petitions, but when we caught up with him last November, he wouldn't talk about it. Can you talk to us about the petitions?
No, I'm sorry. I don't have anything to say.
Did you forge any signatures?
I don't have anything to say.
Did you fake any petitions at all?
I don't have anything to say.
Well, numerous voters told us they never signed the petitions. Is that your signature on this?
That's not my signature.
Did you sign this petition for Barack Obama?
No.
You did not?
No.
So this is a forgery?
It is.
It's a fake?
Absolutely.
Well, all 4 suspects entered pleas of not guilty, and they'll be back in court. Joining us now is the young man who first discovered the alleged fraud. He is Ryan Neese. Ryan's a junior at Yale University. He's from Indiana, and he wrote about this in the nonpartisan newsletter, How We Politics in Indiana. Ryan, good morning, and congratulations.
Good morning, Eric.
You know, it's pretty astounding. With all due respect, you're a college student. This sailed through the voter registration board. Allegedly, officials were in on it. No one in the Indiana state elections hierarchy knew about it, or the federal hierarchy knew about it. It happened 3 years ago. Why do you think, or what does it show that this was able to allegedly go on so undetected?
Well, no one essentially knew that it was happening because the people who would have been in a position to detect it were, in fact, the people, according to prosecutors this week, who were committing the alleged fraud.
And that means insiders can allegedly pull this type of stuff off?
That's exactly what happened. The process in Indiana is to submit ballot petitions to voter registration offices throughout the state, but it was officials in those voter registration offices that apparently were committing the fraud.
What does this do to the credibility of the election system? And we all want to trust it. We all want to make sure that there's no voter or election fraud. Yet then you have something like this.
Well, I think on one hand it's obviously very troubling because we want to maintain more faith in our elections than what this particular instance demonstrated to us. And I think it's a reasonable question to ask whether if this happened in northern Indiana, where else might it be happening? At the same time, this is something that came out. It's been reported on widely, and there were 4 indictments released this week, and I think we can feel good about that.
One young man, Lucas Burkett, 26 years old, who worked in the office. Prosecutors say he came forward and spilled the beans about all this. His attorney calls him a hero, says Lucas is a whistleblower. But here's what the attorney for Dustin Blythe told us. Jeffrey Kimball said, quote, of Lucas, he is a disgruntled employee. He was dismissed and is acting out of a vendetta against all these people. 3 years after the petitions were entered, he went to the newspapers. He didn't go to the police. He is obviously out to try and harm people, not because he's any sort of good Samaritan. What do you make of that?
Well, I think the people who were harmed here were the hundreds of people in northern Indiana who had their signatures apparently forged on petitions that they didn't intend to sign. I think Mr. Blythe's attorney is obviously going to make as strong of a defense as he can of him, but I'm inclined to believe that the whistleblower on which prosecutors are in large part relying to make this case is a hero. I agree. I think this is one of the things that we can feel best about all of this.
And finally, Ryan, what do you think the message is of this case, that this apparently happened, and that someone who says he was in on it has now come forward and told the world about it?
Well, I think the message is vigilance. The problem here is that no one was really watching the watchmen, but as long as people like the whistleblower who came out last week and who started cooperating with prosecutors last fall exist, I think, and as long as media like you and others are interested in covering these kind of things, I think hopefully we'll continue to discover this when it happens.
All right, Ryan Neese, who's at Yale. Now we know why you're there. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us this morning, and congratulations on your work. And by the way, you talk about us covering this stuff. Voter fraud at foxnews.com is our address. We have a voter fraud unit. We are on these allegations and charges and similar types of cases across the country. Ryan, thank you.